To this developing story now, passengers have been left stranded at OR Tambo International Airport this morning. Flights have been delayed indefinitely due to the shortage of fuel. Some passengers say they've been stuck on planes since 5 a.m. this morning. eNCA's Moloko Moloto joins us from the airport. Moloko, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me. We know that according to the official statement by AXA, refueling has resumed. What's the sentiment there on the ground?
Hello, Shadika. Well, indeed, there was a bit of pandemonium this morning at the OR Tambo International Airport, and that was primarily because the airport's company was unable to refuel the planes, accordingly, and they have had to resort to refueling them manually. Unfortunately, they say the person who is supposed to speak to us from AXA, the airport's company, South Africa, is currently busy and they would not be able to speak to us. However, they issued a media statement, if I can just quickly refer you to it. They basically are saying that they confirm that at OR Tambo International Airport they experienced challenges with fuel supply from the fuel storage facility. It's important to underline this, Shadika, that the AXA is saying that there is no fuel shortage. The only difficulty was to get that fuel from the storage facility because they had an issue with the valve. However, they said that this matter has now been attended to and their technicians remain on site. And we also saw the statement by the Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, who said he's been reassured by the management of AXA that this matter has been attended to. But you will understand that obviously this impacts particularly the airlines such as South African Airways, and I can see that actually airlines such as Ethiopian Airline are already people are already on the check-in counter. It seems as if things are back to normal. But let's hear from the South African Airways, Miss Daisy Demas. Ma'am, if you can just tell us how you were impacted. I understand from as early as 4 o'clock this morning you experienced this problem. You couldn't take off as scheduled.
Good afternoon to you and to your viewers as well. Yes, it is so. What happened is AXA only advised the airlines at 6, but this issue started at around 4 a.m. So it impacted us in a sense that our first flight to Cape Town, we were already boarding and we had to deboard because now the aircraft couldn't be fueled.
And how many flights were delayed, and did you have to cancel some of them altogether?
No, we didn't cancel any flights. We were delayed. It was a total of 9 flights out of Orsia, and the delay was between, the hardest one was the Cape Town one, which was 3.5 hours. So it was between 3.5 hours and 20 minutes.
Are we talking only about domestic flights here? What about regional and international?
No, our regional one, of course, yes. Our flight to Lusaka was delayed 30 minutes, to Mauritius 30 minutes, to Harare as well. But in Harare, we managed to re-tank. We came back with a tankering fuel so that it can go to the next station where we were going to, destination we were taking that aircraft to.
A lot of people were actually unhappy, especially on social media, expressing their unhappiness there. Have you, as SAA, perhaps ever experienced this in the history of the airline?
I've been here since 1999, of course, and no, I can't recall something this huge.
And let's talk about the inconvenience. Some of the passengers possibly missed their meetings. They possibly were supposed to be connecting elsewhere, I'm assuming. In such instances, who takes accountability, particularly for the costs incurred by the passengers?
Okay, what happened is we were fortunate enough because airports company continuously made announcement advising that it was a fuel shortage, that they've got a technicality within the fuel department, and the passengers actually understood that it is not the airlines like SAA or any other airline, but it was due to fuel technicality from airports company and the fuelings company.
Have you had passengers from SAA who completely cancelled their flights and decided to explore other means?
I think we are very fortunate because now it's like holiday season and everybody is going on holiday. There were no business passengers, and we looked after them. We gave them some refreshments while they were waiting. And yes, as soon as we took off, they were all on board.
Are there guarantees, to your knowledge, that this inconvenience might not happen again?
I cannot comment on that. Thank you.
Then let's talk about alternatives. Does SAA have any other alternative? Is it possible that should this happen again, you can resort to any other company to provide you with jet fuel, or you are entirely dependent on this particular one?
Okay, AXA, Airport Company South Africa are the landlords at the airports. So we actually get this fuel from their supplier as well. So we don't have a space anywhere in South Africa where we can say we can have an alternative. No, except in the regional stations where we fly to, we can actually, if we have this in town, then we can do fuel tankering to ensure that when the flight lands in Orsha, it goes off. And not forgetting, this is our hub. So all the aircrafts which are coming into South Africa are starting and taking off. They're landing and taking off from OR Tambo.
Let's talk then about the situation right now. I see people are going towards your check-in counters. Are things back to normal?
Yes, I can say we're back to normal now, but obviously the delay is going to impact like for the whole day.
How so? Maybe simplify it for us.
Okay, so remember, when a flight leaves OR Tambo, it goes to Cape Town, for instance. The same flight must come back, so we must have enough fuel to actually fly down and back again. So Cape Town is also affected. So then that's where your rolling, we call it rolling in airline terms, where the delay just continues, but it won't be as huge as it were when it starts.
So if I understand you correctly, you are saying a flight that would depart from Johannesburg to Cape Town must fuel enough.
No, it must refuel in Cape Town.
So it must. So in other words, are you experiencing the same situation in Cape Town International Airport?
Yes, it was in Orsha and in Cape Town as well, as far as I was advised.
So here, Airports Company is telling us they have resolved this problem. What is the situation in Cape Town in terms of fueling?
Obviously, it's all back to normal from around 8:26 this morning, and the impact will be because of the original delays.
All right.
But we will recover by 5 o'clock this afternoon. We must have recovered.
All right. Daisy Demas speaks for the South African Airways. Well, we weren't aware, Shadika, that this has also affected Cape Town International Airport, and it would have been helpful, I must say, for Airports Company to come out and clarify, because as matters stand, obviously you cannot expect an airline which is aligned onto the facility of AXA to account for the operations of AXA. But as matters stand, as we were speaking to some of the passengers just before we came on air, about 3 or 4 or 5 of them that we spoke to, none of them were delayed, which might seem to be confirming that indeed things are now back to normal.
Absolutely, Moloko. That's good news for all those who are travelling. Like you said, both airports being affected today, both RT and Cape Town International. But like your guest also mentioning that things should be on track only by 5 o'clock this afternoon. So if you are heading out to the airport, just bear that in mind. That was eNCA's Moloko Moloto keeping us updated with the situation at OR Tambo International.